Yes, everyone, let's buckle up. Let's get ready and embark on this exhilarating journey together and imagine the future together. Now, everyone, please direct your attention to the screen right here. There will be a QR code. And what is the point of this QR code? It's because throughout our discussions today, we do welcome questions. So please do scan it. If you have any questions, please do submit it over there, and our moderator, as well as our speakers or panelists, will address it when they get a chance. So everyone, let's kickstart today's panels by looking at the dynamic duel. What's a dynamic duel? Does anyone know? It's the AI and the blockchain, basically, what everyone's talking about nowadays, right? So it's AI, blockchain. They're both the breakthrough technologies that have enabled the seemingly impossible. So when I say that, we actually ponder on one question is, will they be able to form a harmonious union, creating pretty much what we called a tech heaven, a tech heaven. Is that possible? A match made in tech heaven. Well, will that be possible and bring us more possibilities is the question. So everyone, let's extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speakers who will share their insights on this topic. Allow me to introduce them on stage. And everyone, please put your hands together for them. Mr. Kevin Pereira, Managing Director, Blue Artificial Intelligence. Please board the stage. Thank you. Ms. Charlotte Wong, Chief Information Officer, HSBC Hong Kong. Please join us. Mr. Zheng, partner of Hashkey Capital, as well as Ms. Angie Lau, co-CEO and editor-in-chief of Forkast Labs, who will moderate the discussions. All right, everyone, please get comfortable. See that you got your beverage ready, and I'll hand the stage over to you. Thank you all.
Melody, thank you so much. And thank you to Alibaba Entrepreneur Fund. Thank you to Cindy Chow. And thank you to all of you. I mean, what a great way to spend an afternoon in Hong Kong, because if you think about it, this city is truly at the epicenter, east and west. The cross-section of cultures, the cross-section of talent, and the cross-section of technology. It is where I spent the last decade, and as I traverse the world, and as all of you traverse the world, we are now also seeing the emergence of incredible technology called AI and blockchain, a match made truly in tech heaven. I hope you guys are okay. I'm gonna make eye contact with all of you, not to be rude. 謝謝. 唔該晒，多謝晒你. Okay, very good. But as Cindy said, yes, for the ladies is a little bright. Okay, because you guys are superstars. Your sun is shining very bright on us right now. So let's get started. Look, Forkast started in 2018. We were at the cusp of something that we thought was really incredible, which was the application of blockchain in not only just the crypto sphere and the metasphere, but also the real sphere, okay? Let's talk about that. But we also felt that the emergence of other technologies was really going to blossom into something that we would see over the next decade. And so here we are. And so let's get you familiar with the audience and vice versa. And Kevin, I want to start with you. You know, from your perspective, from your very specific perspective in AI, it can't just be a silo technology. There's so many contextual things that it can unleash. What is that for you?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Kevin Pereira. Just maybe a quick intro to myself, but I work at a company called Blue Artificial Intelligence, where we do AI consulting and also AI education. And I also teach at HKU and HKUST, so I'm a part-time professor over there. So I come from the AI space, so I'll answer this question a little bit from the AI angle. So when I think of AI, AI is really about taking data, using that in a smart way to get good insights, right? And for me, blockchain is really about the storage and collection of that data. So it kind of works hand in hand with each other. So when I kind of think about the concept, for me, it's really data on one side with blockchain, and then AI analyzing that data. And what I'm really excited about is when I think about blockchain and we kind of see what are use cases that blockchain is looking at, you often find that a lot of blockchain solutions tend to look at the blockchain trilemma, right? So the idea where you have decentralization, you have security, and then you also have scalability. And I think from an AI perspective, AI is great maybe at the, or useful in terms of with blockchain. They're a good combo for the scalability part and also for the security part. So I'm very excited to see those combinations address use cases that address those areas.
Okay, so you're thinking about AI, you're thinking about applying it in use case. Now, Jupiter, you come from Hashkey. This is one of the most prolific firms in crypto, in blockchain. How do you think about, from your perspective in this technology, as you apply, new emerging technology like AI?
Thank you. This is Jupiter from Hashkey. So we've been doing blockchain crypto spaces for many years. And definitely we see a lot of progress in Web3 and blockchain, especially given the GPT-3, GPT-4's mass adoption. We see more and more the combination between AI and blockchain, especially in the use cases. So in the past, I think most of the use cases regarding the blockchain are isolated from others. But nowadays, with AI, it can bring something like to magically combine different applications together by leveraging the computational power of AI. And also AI itself is also a powerful tool for creator economy, gig economies. Especially, I think maybe a combination may come from the creators that his working powers are from AI, but their incentive programs are coming from blockchain and Web3.
Yeah.
But they can be, combined very naturally in the future. And also they can providing some rare tools of AI to different peoples. So I think the emerging trend is much more significant than before. So that's the one I take. Yeah, thank you.
Let me ask the audience real quick. How many of you are familiar with blockchain? Raise of hands. Okay, because you guys are the smartest bunch of people I know. How many people are familiar with artificial intelligence? Okay, all right, okay. How many of you bank? Okay, it should be everybody. Okay, come on now. So now, Charlotte Wong is having a little bit of a heart attack because she's like, how many people bank? It should be everybody. At HSBC, this is your crowd. They're familiar with the technology. They're familiar with AI. They're familiar with blockchain conceptually. They bank. How do you think about all three of those things from your perspective?
That's almost heart attack. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, everybody bang, right? So this is Charlotte. I'm the Chief Information Officer of HSBC Hong Kong. When we think about the three things, first of all, on blockchain, we do CBDC. We just actually finished a pilot with retail e-Hong Kong dollar a couple months ago with the HMA. We have actually tokenized real world assets. We tokenized gold. We announced it like a couple of weeks ago. We have tokenized bond with the government. We actually use blockchain for financial product. We tokenize them. And then from an AI point of view, we use AI to help us on efficiency gain. So not a very actually good use case for financial institution is about fraud detection. So how do I actually detect if actually someone sending a payment from here to there, whether it's a money laundering or not? And also, I was being quite pleased about how HSBC do a fraud detection. I was traveling using my card in Taiwan last 2 days, and I'm trying to make an international payment, Singapore dollar. They pop up and say, hey, we think that's a fraud transaction, Charlotte. So we use actually AI to do these things. But then this is like how banking institution use the two things. But then when we bring all three things together, we try to marry three things together. The one thing that we are still trying to make sure that we get it right on AI is actually to make sure the data fitting in the model is correct. So we also talk about rubbish in, rubbish out, right? We are a highly regulated industry. You guys, money and assets with us. You don't want us to pay around that randomly, right? And the one thing we want to make sure when we use the AI model to serve you guys is the data is correct. Then how blockchain ensuring the data the privacy, the data accuracy is actually correct. It's actually where I see we could actually have a potential use case to bring the two things together.
How do you think about, and this is for everybody, how do you think about AI unleashing the data sets that are so valuable in blockchain? We talked about it a little bit before we met together here on stage. You know, part of the discussion was if it's about data, you know, the Web 2 version has really siloed those experiences for you. You know, you're in a silo experience with a certain data set, with a certain service provider, and that's it. AI really unlocks everything. What is the potential here as we're going to be able to see it from your point of view? I mean, you're one of the pioneers. How is it going to be unlocked, the value for everybody here?
Go ahead.
Kevin, why don't you start?
Okay, sure. So, you know, I feel like I could talk about this for hours. So let me just pick one or two interesting use cases, right, where I think it's going to be unlocked. So I think number one, if we start to think of AI as like a tool to achieve an objective, the interesting question becomes, where do we see opportunities for that? If I just reflect on, you know, clients that are coming to us, what are they talking to us about? One area is personalization, right? So I'm sure many of you have heard about it. And I think generally when AI knows a lot about you, it starts to be able to give you good recommendations, right? That's kind of the whole point. So in theory, if we could use the data that at times is a little bit, you know, at times maybe it's not necessarily something that you want everybody to know, but you just want the AI to go there, look at it just initially, and then give you some good personalized recommendations, that could be interesting, right? So if we think about a combination, if we think about personalization, if we use blockchain and we understand how a product is created, and the AI can go and look at that, it can then give you much better recommendations because it knows the process, it knows the ingredients that have been used to create that specific product. And so there, in the area of personalization, I think that's one really big area. That's a good combination for the two.
When you think about personalization, right, it feels like, oh, wow, that's great, until you realize somebody knows every single thing about me, probably knows more about me than me, and it gets concerns about privacy. But this is also the potential of where blockchain comes in.
Yeah, I think for blockchain, naturally it is a distributed database. So blockchain is all about data. So and all the data are created by the users. So and not to the the sense we're making that all the chain's data are transparent to the public. So basically speaking, if you're using the blockchain, you have permitted to expose your data to the public. But the actual thing is the data on blockchain is so much. So you don't have the tools to analyze it. Even you got the data, for example, you can have the blockchain or Bitcoin data from the day it is in subscription from 2008, but the whole database is quite large. And not all the data are valuable, right? We need the valuable data, not all the data. So I think AI will be providing some tools to help us to filter the data, to create or retrieve the value from the database as from the massive seed of the data. But actually, if you want to use blockchain, everybody has been acknowledged that if we want to use blockchain, I will contribute my data to the blockchain. So it will be make the blockchain more valuable. You are the stakeholder, right? So everybody using the same tools, you're a stakeholder, and then you leverage your data, and the data can be leveraged by others to create a more useful product, or more the data can be using an easier way. For example, in blockchain, the wallet is not very easy to use, right? But in the future, with the help with AI, we can use a more like Web 2 style apps for applications for the users. So I think it's a compromise or trade-off between if you really want to use blockchain, and if but there are some tools can providing you to expose your data to be public to the mass audience. But in another way, you can also expose your data. So I think it's how you want to contribute to the communities, and AI just opened the door for that.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the most exciting things I think that blockchain really unlocks for individuals is that we can be gatekeepers to our own data sets, and we can permission big companies, pharmaceutical company, insurance company, or whatever it is, to tap into my personal data as part of a valuable group of data. I could strip away my personal information, and then whatever it is that I care to share, and then actually be rewarded for it, be paid for it. But the thing is, AI actually accelerates the ability of firms to be able to aggregate data that I choose to contribute, data that you choose to contribute, and then make it meaningful back to us. It's kind of like how do you think about that?
So because we all are talking about trust, right? We as a bank, we build trust with our customer. You bank with us because you trust us to actually put your assets with us. So blockchain definitely help us on that in an efficient way. And how AI is actually helping us on efficiency. I always try to bring all the tokenized product and assets back to the real world and say, should it be your own data stored in blockchain? Should it be your currency? Should it be your gold, your assets, your bond, and everything else? When you have these and you just see them like your normal bank account, your transaction, your credit card statement, when you overlay the AI efficiency and the intelligence over them, we get better product. So I don't sell you something you don't need. So when I say, you know what, I think you need that tokenized bond, it's actually easier for you to trade the assets in that way, so you make more money. Your target is actually for retirement. That's actually what we analyze for you. So I always try to tie to your real life example, your real life lead for a banking service and product into how we apply AI to actually make it even more tailor-made without losing the privacy and confidentiality. I think that's actually an exciting time.
And so it really kind of opens the door to kind of private applications to public sector applications. But then, how do you think about it and how should even regulators think about it? How, from a society's point of view, should we regard how AI should be governed, used, regulated, especially as it magnifies something that is already very murky when it comes to regulations, which is crypto and blockchain. So how should we be thinking about that as a group? How do you all think about that?
Maybe I start, right? I'm being the regulator. Well, you as well, right? Actually being the regulated one here. If you see what the HMA and the SFC, the two main regulators in Hong Kong, published a joint statement around FinTech Week, we want to regulate, we call it tokenized assets and all these instruments in the same way as normal instrument, because it's the only way you educate your retail investor of what they are about. It's the only way that you say that when you invest in a stock, when you invest in a tokenized gold, when you invest in a tokenized bond, these are everything you need to understand before you invest. So I personally will say regulation is good. Regulation help us to actually make it even more like widespread because people understand it rather than afraid of it. So that's one. We don't yet in Hong Kong have regulation on AI yet, but if you see what EU is doing early of the year, so actually putting on EU regulation about ethical use of AI. So my personal way is actually, if we go into that direction, like how we regulate crypto, or not crypto, how we regulate tokenized product, then we actually accelerate the adoption and the trust by general public. We have all the smart people here, but we also have people who don't understand yet. If we get that regulation, then we accelerate the adoption and people are not afraid of it. And that will actually be where, the marriage come together happily ever forever.
So my take is, for my own understanding regarding the regulation is, they just regulate some definite activities. For example, you're trading with some financial tools, you're providing some lending, saving product for the users. So the regulation is just to avoid the participant to doing some malfunction activities towards the retail users or to the public. So I think their scope is regarding the financial products. But for AI, if they're just pure technologies, I think there's movements to regulate AI in some way, in 10 years, 20 years. But nowadays, the financial world, there's still some gap between financial regulations and AI regulation. But actually, I think the AI has some ethical boundaries we need to pay attention to, especially the boundary between human and AI is becoming more opaque. Mm-hmm. They need to tackle this problem in the future. But nowadays, we still, with the progress of AI like GPT-4 and GPT-5, we still see a potential exponential increase in AI. So the for the final status of AI, still not that mature. So the regulation need to be pushed by the innovations. So we maybe see in 20 years or 30 years, we see some regulation to regulate AI. This is my personal take, yeah.
Yeah, maybe AI will regulate all of us. But anyway, no comment. But Kevin, you probably had a lot of comments about that. And how do we educate ourselves? How do we prepare for this world of regulations? How do we create those boundaries and those guidelines for us so that we can traverse this new emerging technology in a way that we can confidently say that we are better for it?
No, great question, right? So, let me start to answer that question by just asking a question to the audience here. But when you guys use an app or any new service, how many of you read the terms and conditions? Okay, basically we got nothing. Okay, and again, that's not surprising, right? Because we do actually see that quite a bit. So I think the first thing on an individual level, I think we need to become much more cognizant of what data are we actually giving to different companies when we say yes to using their services, okay? And this doesn't necessarily mean we shouldn't give them any data, just understand that it's a transaction. So if I'm gonna use this service for free, I'm maybe not paying with it, I'm not paying money for it, but I might be paying with it with my data, right? So just keep that in mind. I think awareness and education is sort of step number one there. In terms of the regulatory part, just from an AI perspective, we're seeing quite a few different regulators adopt different approaches. Maybe two that I'll just pull out for discussion purposes. I definitely agree the EU one is very interesting because what they're trying to do there is they're trying to look at your AI application and see whether it's a high risk, medium risk, or low risk. And then based on that bucketing, they have a different set of regulations. So that's regulating on the application layer, which is interesting. Over in the US, just in the last sort of week or so, they've come out with some more sort of potential AI regulations there. And there they're trying to regulate by how much computing power you're using, sort of more on the lower end in terms of the foundation parts. And then there's an approach to regulate application. So I don't know whether the application layer is better to do regulation on or the foundation part, but at least they're trying both sides. So that's, I think, an interesting thing for us to think about with regards to AI regulation going forward.
So I love where this conversation started, which is, these are technologies that happen to evolve separately. And now we're at a stage, so quickly, by the way, that we're talking about contextual emerging technologies as they reference and inform and build on each other. Now we're talking about how we apply it in society. What are the laws? What are our privacy rights? What are the regulators thinking about? Societally, what are our responsibilities as citizens and our responsibilities as users to think about all of that? And as we wind up this conversation, because Kevin, like you, I think this could go for a long time. It's one of those fascinating topics that aren't ending on this stage. It's only beginning. And so what is the future? How do we prepare for this future? I will say, my son was born in Hong Kong 2017. He is now 6 years old. He's a monkey baby, okay? He's a little monkey baby. He loves to run around. AI is probably going to help him think, okay? And I want him to think for AI. How do we prepare for this future, for the next generation, all of us? How do we think about AI, blockchain, real-world applications, and how to be prepared for it? And Kevin, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I think there's many different ways to go about this. Let me answer this maybe with my education hat on, as I teach at a few of the universities here. So something I think is quite interesting, being a university professor, is you start to see a lot of students use AI tools to quote-unquote cheat on their homework. right? Use ChatGPT, write all the essays, it is what it is. I personally think that we in the education space need to start testing or assessing process rather than output. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So imagine, back in the day, you are at school, a teacher asks you to write an essay. You write an essay and you get the grade on the output, right? Just purely the essay. But now for my class, what I want to do is I want to do the same thing, but I want them to give me the output essay, and I'll give them 20% of the grade for that. And then 80% of the grade, I want them to write another essay on why they use that prompt, why they use that tool, what are they actually doing. Right, so I think it's interesting to test the process. And even for the exam, I would want to give them output from generative AI and ask them what is wrong with this. Right, because that forces them to think about the process, not necessarily to think about the output. Because I think we're getting to the point where output is easy. But those people who are good at using the tools, I think in the future are going to be the ones that really accelerate. And I mentioned a lot of this to people, final thought here, when they asked me about AI taking away jobs, right? And my view on this stuff is you're more likely to be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI rather than by the AI itself. Right? So if you become a good user of the tool, both in terms of using it at the beginning and also critically evaluating the output, I think that's going to be an interesting step for education going forward.
That's awesome. Jupiter, how do we protect the next generation? How do we evolve the next generation? How do we grow the next generation?
I think if you look at the history of recent 50 years, the technology innovation hasn't stopped. So every generation we're facing its, innovation from technology from its side. Because, for example, when I was young, I didn't use any phone, even not smartphone. The function phone, I don't use it. But when I grow older, when everybody using that, I get used to that. So I think in the future, when people facing about AI and crypto, it's just like, breathing the air. It's very, have been evolved into a common life. Not a very exceptional thing. Nowadays we see AI always very powerful, but maybe after several generations, AI is just a common tools. Everybody can use it. Everybody bring a phone. You can use AI. It's just ordering some dishes. It's very very common. So we don't have to be worried about that because the technology innovation will not be stopped in the next few years. So AI and blockchain is just one or two of these examples. And also, not to mention that technology we have been using for daily life. For example, nuclear technologies, skyrocket technologies. They have been evolving along with our life. But in the future, when they become a 2C applications, everybody will get used to that. For example, in the future, everybody may get used to flying to the moon, flying to the Mars. It's just a commercial flight, right? So I think it's a daily life. It's nothing to worry about it.
It really is about trying to figure out how to live with it, right?
Absolutely, I agree very, very much. And also, the only thing I want to add is like putting my CIO hat on. Technology innovation is not only for the technology team. I have that a lot when I talk to people. We all live in a world that we are driven by technology. So even you're not a technology, a programmer, engineer, you need to understand technology, how it evolves and how we change our life in a different degree, right? So my advice would be, like for your 6-year-old son, even he doesn't want to be an engineer, he needs to understand technology, but just in a different level. Just last thing I want to add.
Yeah. Just like when man discovered fire, can you imagine how powerful that is? And now it's just part of our human language. And this is what technology is. It's part of the evolving human language as we apply what our needs are, which are basic, which is human connection, which is taking care of family, and to be of value to society. And in that way, these are incredible tools for us to engage as human beings. So thank you, audience, for engaging with us as human beings. We loved this conversation. Of course, it continues. This is the QR code for questions, not only for us, but for all of the speakers and panels that will be here. But for now, what a great start to this session and to this audience. And thank you, panelists. Kevin, Jupiter, Charlotte, you guys are the best. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. And thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And before everyone returns to the seat, please to take a group photo. Thank you so much for the insightful sharing. That was really wonderful. And thank you, Angie, for being our moderator. All right, let's take one more. All right. Oh, just one more as an extra security measure, just to make sure we got that perfect photo. Okay. Everyone, let's put our hands together one more time. Thank you so much for the sharing. Everybody, please be seated.